technical explanations. As David said, we are recording the webinar and we will publish it on our YouTube account and of course on our online platform. So for all these of you that are not, who cannot follow the whole webinar, you can watch it later on. And then please notice that materials and presentations will be also available on our platform and also on our online cloud. You will get the link and you will be easily download them. And then of course you can see the list of participants and a headset symbol shows that your audio is connected and you are able to hear a conversation. Please turn on your camera if possible that you can see you, and of course if this is not possible it's okay. And you do this by clicking on the symbol of camera. We will particularly use this on our second webinar when we will try to do a group photo, and it will be nice to see you. But for now, it's not that much important. And of course, but this is important that in order to have better sound quality, everyone will be muted except for the speaker in the given moment. But if you want to speak up or comment something, just unmute yourself by clicking on the symbol of the microphone. And of course, you can use chat section to post any question. You can see it if you go with your mouse on the screen, it's a bubble, and then click it, and then you can just type in the or questions, and we will respond to it. So, and then important dates and timings. Okay. Can we
have somebody here?
Okay.
Okay, yes, I tried to Nahid, welcome. I will just try, I will mute the microphone for now, yes. Okay, good.
Welcome to everybody who joined lately. Okay, during this webinar, of course, we will listen to two presentations from Vasilika and Stefan, and then you will be also asked to do an assignment. This assignment will be introduced to you during this webinar, and then you will have time until Saturday, let's say until noon. This is April 25th, to submit the assignment, and you will send it to us by dragging it into our online platform, which is very easy, or you can also use the email if you want. And then in 1 week time, we will meet again virtually on our second webinar on April 28th, the same timing as today, 10 a.m. And we will report on our main findings of assignments. We will discuss this, and then we will also discuss service strategies of Dutch and Kosovo tax administrations. So, with this quick overview, let's move on, and I will just shortly introduce who we are and what we do. The CEF, most of you know us, but still, we do support capacity development for public officials through learning. That means that we are delivering, designing, organizing learning events like this online event, webinars, face-to-face event, conferences, study visits, and many more, depends on the need. And as you can see on the slide, our geographic focus is Southeastern Europe and beyond. And as I said before, participants that are enrolled for this course are coming from 9 different countries, and you are more than 20. And we have here Bulgaria, we have Romania, we have North Macedonia, Kosovo, Ukraine, Georgia, Armenia, and Mongolia. So this is great. This is learning community is really great. And you are representing tax administrations. We have here representatives also of ministries of finance, line ministries, and this is actually the best place for discussion. And thank you, everybody of you, for joining us. Just going briefly through our thematic focus, I would like to stress these 3 circles in between that are more or less technical pillars. These are public financial management, tax policy administration, and central banking. And of course, this course goes under tax policy administration. We are supporting our region in process reforms, and we have quickly realized that only technical knowledge is not enough. And that's why we are also providing topics on leadership and managing reforms and data and analysis for designing policies. Because in policy decision process, this is important. If you have a good data, if you have a good statistic and analysis, and at the same time, if you know how to delegate the work, if you know what is important in change management, how to do performance management and similar things, you will be probably more successful in implementing the reforms. So this is just in short, and then now let's focus on today. And as I said, Stefan and Vasilika will present their findings and their perspective. Stefan Norman Hansen will talk about voluntary compliance, and he will most of the time talk how to support it. He will focus on chapter 3 of Tadat, and we'll see what useful everybody of us can learn from. And then Vasilika Vieira from Albania will talk about digitalization of tax procedures in Albania. So we will hear how the e-services and digitalization can impact the voluntary compliance and compliance itself, and the costs, of course. And then assignment will be introduced to you by Norman, Stefan, and me. And then, of course, we'll have some time for questions and answers. And don't wait until the last section of questions and answers. If you have any kind of comments, concerns, questions, please speak up, unmute yourself, or type in the questions, the comments into the chat section. I would also like to thank, take this opportunity to thank our partners, which are Ministries of Finance and Tax and Custom Administration of the Netherlands, Slovenia's Development Corporation, and Ministry of Finance of Slovenia for supporting us in designing and delivering this event. Without them, we will not be possible to meet like this. Okay, so as I said before, use chat section for your questions. You can also email this to us, but chat section or unmuting yourself will be the quickest way. So with this, we have come to the point that we can give the floor to Stefan. And please, David, give him presenter rights. Yeah, and I'll just shortly introduce him. He's been worked for the Danish tax agency for years as a senior manager, and he worked also as an IMF regional tax administration advisor. He traveled around our region and he knows the region well. And now he's retired, but he's still consulting a tax administration, and he also works as a CF fellow, and we are very happy to have him on board. Stefan, thank you again, and the floor is yours.
Thank you, Maya, and thank you for having me. I hope everybody is doing fine in spite of the situation that everybody is in, and especially tax administration are quite vulnerable right now. It differs, of course, from different countries. But when the item of the webinar is increasing taxpayers' compliance and reducing compliance costs, I think that a focus on supporting voluntary compliance is quite essential. And every time I'm working with as an expert or giving a presentation or anything, I'm always visiting the TADAT field guide, Tax Administration Diagnostic Tools, which is developed by a number of international organizations and tax administration. It gives you, TADAT gives you a really good overview over the good practice for all procedures in a tax administration. And I can really recommend to visit that if you are involved in developing tax administration or in constantly improving the tax administration. It gives good advice and it asks the questions that you should ask yourself. So what do we want when we are talking about supporting voluntary compliance? We want to have taxpayers that they have the necessary information and support to volunteer comply at a reasonable cost to them. And I focus on the reasonable cost to them. Imagine or think about taxpayers, businesses are actually collecting the taxes for the government. VAT and pay-as-you-earn taxes are all collected and by taxpayers, and they have to do their accounting very well for doing that. It's not only for their personal income tax, that they will have to do that anyway, but they have to administer VAT and pay-as-you-earn taxes, and that's not easy for them. And that is going with a certain cost, and that's why I think we should focus on giving them the best tools for doing that. So when I'm visiting the tax administration diagnostic tool, we can see there what they consider as good practice when we are talking about voluntary compliance. I have mentioned the most of that here, where we need to provide information through a variety of user-friendly products. And what do I mean by that? We need to be sure that the legislation is explained in a language that everybody can understand, targeted to different segments of taxpayers, so that auditors with a good education of audit, they don't need a very detailed information about it. They need the law and some explanations. But if you're taking a very small business, they will need more specific items. So we are here talking about the guided brochures, fact sheets, forms, web pages, frequently asked questions. Frequently asked questions are quite important in a daily business. And then practice notes and rulings and all written information. And we are also here talking about preparing material or course material for school, so that you can, at a very early stage of becoming taxpayers, try to influence what they should do when they have to pay taxes. Another important thing is to customize information to meet specific needs. As I said, you will have very big differences of taxpayers. You will have very high skilled taxpayers who have been studying in the university, and you will have people who have just started to do some job because they find they are good to do that. And they will need different ways of information materials. And we also need to focus on taxpayers who are at the first time or have some difficulties to read or to listen, so that they need to have specific things. And first-time taxpayers, when you want to have a really good taxpayer register, it's important that first-time taxpayers will have good information about how they should register, how they should behave during the time that they have been registered. Also delivering cost-effective service convenient to taxpayers. And I focus on convenient because it's not all taxpayers who will be able to have access to a computer. I hope at least now in our days have, but convenient could also be that they could walk in to have inquiries directly from in face-to-face dialogue, or by telephones or letters, of course. But as technical and IT is developing, more and more tax administration are shifting to identify a service delivery channel strategy, so that they will move more and more work from walk-in inquiries, from telephone and from letters, towards e-services, and that's much more cost-effective. In Denmark, where I was working for I think 20 years ago, we did this study, and we tried to focus on the cost for every channel. So what was the cost for sending a letter, the staff cost for that, the stamp, the printing of the letter, and we saw that all the costs from all also from walking in, and everything was calculated, and we could see from that where we should focus on the cheapest for the tax administration procedure, and also, of course, for the most effective towards the taxpayers. So having a channel strategy where you consider cheaper and easier solutions is important. And when you have your information, you should also using service delivery standards. It's important for a taxpayer to know if he is calling on the phone, how long time should he wait, or how long time should he expect to wait before he will get his answer. Or if he will send in a request, how long time should he wait for the answer? 1 day, 2 days, 3 days? VAT refund, is that going on 2 weeks, or is it a 1 month or 2 months? I don't think it should be more than 2 weeks, but I know it takes longer time in some administration. But giving this kind of service standard, maybe in kind of taxpayer charter, is important so that taxpayers know exactly what they can expect from the tax administration. And an important, keep information updated. I am 100% sure, because I've seen that when I've done TADAT assessment. If you're going through all the information on the internet or all your pamphlets, I'm sure you will find information that is outdated because the new legislation had outdated it. And it's extremely important, of course, that the information that you keep on your website or the pamphlets that you are giving out to people, that they are updated with the newest information. And so that taxpayers are aware of the changes that must come. And every time a new legislation is prepared by a government, you should be ready as a tax administration to inform in an easy understand language what is going on. And if you can do something in advance, it will be perfect. And you should also introduce measures to reduce compliance costs. As I said, taxpayers are collecting VAT and pay as you earn for the tax administration or for the government. And it should be as cheap as possible for the taxpayers to do so. So if you can, for maybe smaller businesses, have an easy to go accounting system, or develop really good e-services and pre-filling of tax declarations. I know that a lot of you are working with pre-filling of tax administration, and a lot of you are struggling with having the legislation to get information and safeguard these information in your system. But it is important. For instance, in Denmark, where I'm living, my yearly tax declaration, I don't have to do anything at all, because the tax administration have all the data from banks, from my salary or pension as it is now, and the deduction that I can take. But it's still my responsibility that the declaration is correct. So every March, late March, they will send out a pre-filled declaration and say, is this the correct numbers for you? And if it is correct, I don't have to do anything else, then it is accepted. If I have some changes to do, I can do it online, and I don't have to do anything else. Only very few, maybe from normal taxpayers, maybe less than 10% have to do any changes, because we have all the data. It's really effective. Monitoring frequently asked questions is also important, because you will, from your phone service, from your e-services, you will have a lot of the same questions asked to you, and the answer, of course, should hopefully be the same. But if you then publicize these frequent asked questions, and you monitor these frequent asked questions, you will have a lot of people that can get them from the website, so that they don't need to bother you calling or coming in face to face, and it's much easier for a taxpayer. And also monitor taxpayers' perception of service perception is important. You need to ask the taxpayers what they expect of you, so that you can develop your solutions in accordance with what they want to see from you. It's not always the same. That if you are sitting in your chairs together with a number of other staff and thinking, what do we think that the taxpayer need, and then you develop your solutions, that is not necessarily what they need. You need to ask them, and ask them if they think your services are good enough, or if they want some new services from you. So you should do that regularly, at least every second year, and you should react on that. So this is what we consider as international good practice, but we will also, and I will focus a bit on the information and entitlement and obligations, and try to focus on the questions you should ask yourself when you are considering if you're doing it good. Do you provide information on registration, filing, and payment and refunds? And here you could also consider what, as I said, if you have any standards that you want to inform about, so that people know exactly what they should do in these situations. Are you covering all the main taxes and using a variety of channels? Remember that your tax administration have quite a number of different taxes and different procedures that those should cover, and cover all the channels that you are using. Of course, you can focus on the most effective channel mostly, but you should be covering all the channels. Is the information readily available and clear? Is it easy to find on your web page, or do you need to be a professor in searching on the web, or is it easy? And is the pamphlets easy to get? So it should be available immediately. And do you carry out educational programs, especially in schools, but also in different sectors? For instance, hospitality sector, it was really good to give them more detailed information, or schools, they really need that. Is taxpayer information kept up to date using a dedicated team? We support, when I say we, it's in international good products and procedures. And when I say we, it's because I've been working in the International Monetary Fund for quite some years. So we are always recommending that there will be a dedicated team with a number of staff that will focus on thinking on how to keep the data up to date, information up to date, and how we always can improve these kind of information. And how easy is it to get the information? Let's focus on that. Is there a range of communication channels? As I said, try to do this channel strategy. Think about what channel is the cheapest for you and for the taxpayers, and most effective, and use that. Do you charge a fee for answering a question when people are sending you a letter and you will ask them a frequently asked question? Do you charge fee for that? Is it free of cost to use your internet and declare on internet? Does your tax administration have a clear channel strategy? I mentioned the channel strategy over and over again because, as I said, when we did that in Denmark, we really saw what the cost was for each channel and how we could move and try to influence taxpayers to use the cheapest channel. And how long does it take to answer an inquiry? Do you have these standards that you can push out through your channel and say, if you are waiting in the phone, you shouldn't wait for more than 5 minutes and you will be having an answer. Or if you are sending in an inquiry of something, you shouldn't wait for more than 2 weeks, then you will have an answer. And service delivery standard is more or less the same. Are they monitored and reported on? If you have these standards, do you monitor them and do you report on the standards? And simplifying filing arrangements for smaller taxpayers. It's well known that smaller taxpayers, I've said it before, have difficulties by doing the accounting, and so it's really difficult for them if you don't institute some simplified filing procedures for them. And finally, the quality contact channels. Are they interact? The pre-filing of your data on tax declaration, can you do that? If you can't, try to motivate the government to get the permission to do that, because that will really influence all the work that you're doing, not only in taxpayer service, but also in later audit and compliance with management. Can taxpayers and agents see the taxpayers' data? Do we really support that if the taxpayer allows the agent to see it, can the agent then go in and check the data for the taxpayers? And is online tax channel secure to protect taxpayer data? This is extremely important, and not only now in these COVID-19 times where a lot of you are working from home, and there is a possibility for really technical people out there in the world to go in and breach and break into your data systems and steal information. If in a country we can see that data have been stolen from the tax administration, it's really harmful for the trust for the taxpayers, and it's really difficult to get it back. So this should be a focus for all the IT staff here. Data sharing within government to ease tax compliance burden. It's difficult for some of you to share data with other governments. I know that most of you are sharing with customs, but are you also sharing with social security people? And are you giving data to social security people so that they don't need to report the same kind of data to a lot of public administration? And do you get the customer satisfaction and feedback? And I don't think that the feedback where you ask so frequently is good enough. You need to have a specific team asking the same kind of questions to taxpayers in a month or in a year or whatever, so that you will be able to compare from time to time when you are asking for the feedback, and you can use them for improving your tax administration. So how you are doing it is important. And do your tax administration carry out taxpayer perception studies? I have seen also that some of you have done that, but it's not done in a way that you can really, it's not always done in a way that you can really trust them. I think doing perception studies, you need to have professional people to assist you and to develop the questions you are asking taxpayers, and the way you are asking, and the number of taxpayers who should respond to give you the right picture of the perception out in the public. So this is, I try to explain some of the good practice for voluntary compliance, and also the questions that you could ask yourself to be able to monitor that in your administration. And I could really recommend, yes, first of all, thank you for listening. I could really recommend, if you go into TADAT.org website and download the field guide, it will represent all the different procedures, going from registration, filing, payment, arrears collection, audit, compliance risk management. And you can see good practice from there. So that was all from me. I can see I'm almost broke. Use my 20 minutes.
Thank you, Stefan. This was very concrete, and I believe these questions will help many of us to streamline our thoughts and strategies. Do we have any kind of questions now for Stefan? Agreement, disagreements, comments, concerns? It seems not. So yeah, David has just put the link of the TADAT on the chat. Then let's move on, and you can, of course, type in the questions also during the Vasilika's presentation. So now it's time for Vasilika to present her Albanian case. Vasilika has functioned as a director general of the tax administrations in the past, and then he worked as an independent consultant. But just recently, she has been appointed as a deputy prime minister of the finance in Albania. So she has rich experiences, and Vasilika, please, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Maya. I was trying to share the presentation. I think is it fine?
Yeah.
Okay.
Works. It works. Thank you.
So hello, everyone. I hope that everyone is fine despite the situation and the way we all are dealing now with the COVID-19. And I think that the compliance now is more than ever important. And I think that it is a moment that tax administration should pay very close attention to the tax compliance, and something that it might help the tax authorities in this situation. I think that it is the digitalization of the procedures, the online work, or working on a remote, which is something quite new for tax authorities, but also there are many tax authorities who are dealing with remote working since years ago, and we had the chance during the previous webinar to have some very good examples from Norway or Danish, that they were very familiar with the remote. But on the other hand, there are many tax authorities who are trying to organize and who are trying to shift their business as usual in another way. And today my presentation will be focused on the digitalization of tax procedures and how the digitalization of tax procedures has increased the compliance. And I will give two examples. One is the example of the e-tax system, which is being developed within the. It is a new project called Invoice Management and Control. This is a new project. The law the law has passed in Parliament last year, and now we are in the implementation phase of this new project. So I will give some information, general information about the project and how the project is going to impact the compliance. But first, let's start with the system, with the e-tax system that Albanian government is using, the tax authority is using for collecting, for filing, registering, filing, and collecting revenues. The system was launched in 2015 and was designed to be used by the taxpayers through the online declaration, e-filing, while the core system will be used by the tax officials. Of this system, of the new computerized, the purpose for this system was not only to computerize all the existing declarations, the way we keep the records, and the way we monitor, the way we do reconciliation, but to have also very thorough analysis and also to see the possibility of redesign all the services from the scratch. And this was that happened. So everything was redesigned, and everything was started from the scratch because of the new system. The number of actual user is 380,000 users. And we have 150 companies, 1,000 companies which are registered. Also, we have 27,000 taxpayers, which are individuals using the system. You can see that the number of the users is high because the system have the possibility to give the possibility to the taxpayers to give the authority to use it to their accountants, to the legal representatives, and other financial people who deal and who use on daily basis the system. That's why the number of the users is higher than the number of the taxpayers. The e-tax has those components. So has the registration, filing, tax liability payments, accounting on tax liabilities, communication with the taxpayers, reporting, communication with third parties, as well as case management. In 2015 for the Albanian tax authority, because now everything, the registration flows online from the National Business Center to the tax authority accounts. The filing was designed to be online, as well as tax liability payments, accounting, communication with the taxpayer. The system gives the authority to the taxpayers and to the tax authority to communicate on electronic electronic way, because every taxpayer have its own space within the system, and the taxpayers and the tax authorities, they communicate on frequently basis by sharing information, email, messages pop up in order to make them aware about new changes within legislation. Messages are important for the tax authority to deliver through the communication channels, as well as the system enables the communication with the third parties, and we will see within the presentation how the system communicates and what exchange of information the system provides, as well as case management, internal portal, which is the internal portal when the tax administration communicates within them, and also the help desk, which is really a very important tool for the tax officials on how to use the system and how to address technical things about the system. Some of the functionalities, as I mentioned, the filing, all the tax declarations are submitted 100% electronically through the easy. It was very difficult at the moment, but then the taxpayers and the tax authority, they get used and they improve their declaration, they improve the way they use the system. Another important element of the system is the pre-filling procedure. So payrolls now are pre-filed using the previous month data. This is something that gives the taxpayers a chance to be more, more friendly with the system. And also, if the system is pre-filing some of the declarations, this is a great help not also to the tax authorities, because they are getting information from all sources, and the pre-filling is ready. But this is good also for the taxpayer documents, because every month they have to submit, they have to upload sales and purchase books, annual statements only once a year, and also other relevant information which are important for the filing. Payments, another function are the payments. Electronic payment orders are generated in electronic way. All the payments are accounted in one bank account. This was something new for the tax authorities and for Albania. And also payment are received electronically from the treasury system, and this means that all the reconciliation was done in an electronic way, and we have saved a lot of hours working out. We have gained the accurate data. Also, within 2 years ago, the system enables the e-payment, so taxpayers can pay directly from the e-tax system to the bank account. And also communication with the taxpayers, which, as previously I mentioned, but also Stefan mentioned, it is extremely important, because the system now enables sending all the notifications, pop-up, email, so whatever is needed for the tax authority to share within this system with the taxpayers. The system provides the case management, because audit, risk, and investigation, appeals have implemented their case management. Another important tool of the new system is the risk model. So we have, for the first time, we have the risk model which is linked with all the functions, and also is linked with other structures outside the general tax department, and is gathering information, then processing the information, and lead the tax authority interventions to mitigate the risk. All the refund requests are performed electronically. This was something, it was a burden at the beginning for the taxpayers, because they have to work on papers, they have to submit a lot of written requests with a lot of calculations. But now the refund request is performed electronically by the system, and the taxpayer has to insert only the data, and everything is processed electronically. The VAT refund, it is this is developed not entirely within the system, but from the 1st of January, the VAT refund will be used only electronically, and also the system will calculate the interest for the late payment. And this is something new, which will be used will be available for the taxpayers from the 1st of January of the next year. Debt collection is automated. It is an automated, and the debt installment process is online as well. And this is a new function which was introduced around 2 years ago. Another e-tax functionalities were the new GDT website. The new website now is used concrete and very well-tailored information about the tax legislation, about the responsibilities, about the rights of the taxpayers, their obligations as well, and all the news, all sort of information that are relevant for the taxpayers. Also within the GDT website, we have a live chat section when taxpayers on real time, they can get clear answers or even short answers, indicative answers for their concerns or for their questions. As well as we have another important tool, which is the call center, and the call center was launched 2 years ago, and seems that it's working very well. Taxpayers are using very well, but also tax authorities using the call center to communicate with the taxpayers, who are filing, but they are not paying the tax, their tax obligations, as well as to remind them that they have to pay, or to remind them about the debt installments, etc. So the call center and the website is we see as a very, very useful tool to communicate. Another important part of the e-tax system is the internal portal, which is an interface interface for the tax officials to communicate and to use the system, the internal system, because the tax authority has the headquarters in Tirana. Then there is the region of Tirana. We have the large taxpayers offices, and also we have 12 within this internal portal. All the regions communicate, and they use the system. They communicate between them, but also in a centralized way. But they communicate also with the taxpayers. Help desk was part of the e-tax system, and the purpose is to provide help for the tax administration, for the employees, for advising them on how to use the tool, on how to address the problems related with usage of the system. An important element of the new system is the exchange of data with the third parties. Before, everything was done on a paper, was done on paper basis. You need to get an information. The taxpayer have to wait. Taxpayer they had to wait for many hours, but now everything flows correctly, and everything flows very, everything flows electronically from certain institutions with the taxpayer is exchanging data. And the most important institution is National Civil Register, which is the commercial register. The civil register. Then we have the commercial register, social insurance, customs, banks, etc. So we are exchanging information. We are expecting data from them and using this data for the tax purposes. These are some figures that shows how the new system has impacted the compliance, and you can see that income tax declaration from year filing from year to year has increased. So from 80% to 92%, as well as the VAT declaration from 91% in 2016 in 97%. The withholding declarations from 89% to 97%. So this is on-time filings. About the use of electronic services, we can see that electronic filing is 100% for every type of tax. Electronic payments as well is 100%, and also electronic filing as the percentage of value of payments for each type is 100%. So because of the system, everything is filed electronically, and the filing has increased. The filing has increased. The compliance has increased. Something which was related with the IT, but now I would like to tackle a new project which that was approved by the Parliament last year, and is called the module for invoice management and control. And this module and this project is related with the way the fiscal system works in Albania. This is a picture how the fiscal system was or has evolved in Albania. Starting from the paper, so the taxpayers keep their records on paper. Then we have the electronic cash machines, which were used years before. We have and now we are passing to the digital cash machines. So you see the progress that Albania has made in starting from the paper to mechanic cash machines, electronic cash machines that were introduced in 2010 for the first time. And now we will introduce to the taxpayers the digital cash machines, which their memory is part of the iCloud. So we are not expecting anymore to have electronic cash machines with fiscal memories, which is with fiscal memories, but we will have the iCloud memories, and also they will be less costly for the taxpayers. The aim of the law is to monitor all the transactions in the Republic of Albania, and the law will monitor to customers, non-cash transactions, which are transactions from one bank account to another, and these non-cash transactions are oriented to business taxpayers and business to government. But also the system will allow data processing, calculations, tax identification, as well as very good communication with the taxpayers. Which are advantages of the new system? Actually, the system is under development. The company has prepared certain modules of the system, which are effectively now, and the taxpayers can start using. But officially, the all components of the systems will be ready in 2020. So at June The system and the project is designed into phases and is implemented into phases. The first implementation phase now is ready, and taxpayers from a threshold from 0 to 2 million lakh, they will start using the new fiscal system. The system is modern with a wide range of users. We will exchange real data, and the possibility of manipulation of the cash machines is very low. Also, the possibility for fraud and evasion, and we will have better control and comparison of data as well. And the system enables tracking of payment deadlines within business-to-business transactions. And also another important tool is that taxpayers, citizens or buyers, they directly can participate in the fight against the black economy, because they for buying, and within this ticket they can control if this ticket is a fiscalized one, it is fiscalized and it is known from the Ministry of Finance, or it is not a fiscalized one. In this case they can ask the tax authority and let them know that certain taxpayer is not issuing tickets according to the tax legislation. The new system will be a good help also for online audit as well, because the system will provide real-time data monitoring, and availability of data will be current and at time intervals. The tracking turnover intensity of the taxpayers will be something can have the possibility to estimate or to make comparisons of individual turnover. They can make clear comparisons between taxpayers based on the criteria of time, space, and turnover. And also they can issue real-time auditing. So once they have imperfections, once they see that there is something missing within the declaration of certain taxpayers, they can issue real-time auditing. So they can notice taxpayers that he's being audited online. Also, they can monitor the effect of the online auditing, and also they can create audit orders and forward them to the closest auditors in the field, in order to go specifically on that taxpayer who is not using in the way that the legislation allows them. So this was a short presentation of this new system that we are launching into phases, and also presentation about the e-tax system that the Albanian government, the tax authority, is using.
Thank you very much, Vasilika, for this picturesque and case study. I think that she mentioned a lot of components that even Stefan before mentioned, how to involve them in communication with taxpayers. Do you have any questions? In the meantime, Stefan said that it's really good to include VAT refund in electronic tax systems, because it reduces the compliance costs and improves the tax administration possibility for doing risk assessment prior to payout. So probably you agree. And also Stefan said that he's happy to see exchange of data with other institutions because it's extremely effective. What are your practices in your countries? Do you have any similarities, any differences?
Kees van Dongen speaking from the Netherlands.
Please, Kees.
Questions, because Vasilita said that 100% of all the declarations are done electronically. I'm curious how they cope with the persons who are less digital mature. What kind of help do they get to do that declaration? Maybe this is also a question for Eline, my colleague, because she's especially specialized on helping civilians on how to cope with the ones who are not less digital mature. So I'm very curious how they do that in Albania.
Can I answer, Maya?
Yeah, please go, Vasilika, go for it.
So this is a very good question, and the system was introduced in 2015, and we had this problem because many of the taxpayers they weren't comfortable with using the system, or small businesses who are not using the system very frequently. But on that time, before the system was launched, and also during that period of the year, the customer service and education unit, they played a huge role. Because they have to approach approximately all the taxpayers and make them aware about the new changes in the legislation, about the new system, and also they organize a lot of trainings around Albania, and they tackled basically most of the taxpayers. They organized trainings with the taxpayers, as well as with their legal representatives or financial or accountants, because most of the taxpayers to help them filing, because the most of the taxpayers, they don't file on daily basis. They file on quarterly basis, because they have very simplified rules and very simplified taxes. And this was something, it was something easier for the tax administration, and also for this sort of taxpayers who use the system not on everyday basis, but they use on quarterly basis. But basically, we had a lot of education, a lot of training. So this is what we have, and how we have achieved to have everyone on board to register everyone. But before that, the fiscal system entirely went electronically. In 2008, the Albanian government center which is the commercial register, and everything was done electronically as well. So it was a sort of familiarity with electronic as well, and also you have to register within the National Business Center, and the identification number as a taxpayer is issued by them, and this information flows directly to the tax authority, which was very helpful for the tax authority, because taxpayers, they don't have to go there to do certain authentication or certain declarations to have their to be part of the fiscal system, because the information flows directly. But besides that, a lot of training was undertaken to let their economists or financial people who manage their account, how to use the system, because most of the accounts are not managed by the taxpayers per se, but are managed by their representatives that they have decided. But it wasn't easy at all. So the tax authority has struggled a lot to make this project happen. And you can see that how the figures were shifted from from a little bit negative at the beginning into 97% now, and 100% filing at the moment.
Thank you for your explanation. Within a week, we try to give some explanation about the Dutch case. How we in the Netherlands try to help the people who are not well, that's how we support the digital, less mature taxpayers by helping the helper. And we try to involve the civil society. And maybe it's an example on how we try to cope with the persons who are less digital.
Can I just comment on that, Maya? Just shortly.
Yeah, please go.
In Denmark, it's mandatory for everybody to file online. You cannot receive a letter or anything. You should receive anything, and you should file anything online. And when a business will register for the first time, he or she will have a very thorough instruction on how to file and how to deal with the tax administration. So it is mandatory. It's in the law. You cannot declare on paper any longer. So just a comment and supporting to Vasilika. I'm happy to hear what Albania is so far from developed now.
In the Netherlands, it's mandatory for the companies, not for the civilians, for the personal income.
Thank you. And we got a comment from the Armenia, which says that Armenia doesn't have declaration system yet, but they're working on this, and they're planning in 2021 that the Ministry of Finance will do some changes on the tax code of Armenia in order individuals can declare their incomes and expenses. How it is situation in other countries? Thank you from Suzanne to letting us this know. Do we have any other observations?
I also have in chat that,
in Bulgaria, okay. I have noticed this. So Bulgaria, we have, in Bulgaria, we have similar e-system, but not including all mentioned items. Now we are working in a big project to improve it. So, so tax administrations are working on this and are progressing. And then we have one representative from GIZ Serbia says that great presentation. It's the exchange of data with commercial banks based on a request, or is it automatically? So quarterly, annually? This is probably the question for Vasilika. So is the exchange of data with the commercial banks based on the request, or is it done automatically?
Exchange of okay, what the system does is to retrieve the data from the banks about the payment. So once we have the due time for paying taxes, all the payments are paid within the banking system, and then electronically all the payments and through the treasury office they are reconciliated within the system. So basically it is the tax department, it is the system of the tax department. We have the treasury office and we have the banks. The banks are connected with the treasury office and the system. So every time that the taxpayer makes the payment, there is a reconciliation process that on this payment comes from the bank to the treasury office and direct to the account of the taxpayer. So this is what with the banks. And also last year we changed the law within the tax procedures, and the tax authority have all the bank accounts of the taxpayer. So this is another information that we are having from the banks and from the taxpayers. And very soon we are planning to start working on a new legislation about all the taxpayers, about creating the register of the account taxpayers. But this is something new and something that is foreseen for the next year. But for the moment, this is what the system is doing: reconciliation with the treasury and taxpayers within 24 hours from the payment.
Thank you, Vasilika. Also, Stefan mentioned that receiving data should be mandatory. By request, it should not work. And in Bulgaria, this is the case. So they do the same. And Aline agrees with Stefan, and she says that in the Netherlands, banks and others are obliged by law to send the data. And we will elaborate a little this on the next week. So Aline and Kees will present to us how this is functioning in the Netherlands. So
this is true, Maya, only by law, and all the process is functioning if you have also a system. Because I have a lot of examples in Albania when, for example, the property they have to deliver, the property institutions, they have to deliver information to the local governments for the new properties that are built, because this is decided by law since 10 or 11 years ago, but there isn't a system who enables this sharing of information. And if there isn't a system, then the information is not shared in the way it is. And by law, they have to share. They share some sort of information, but this information is in a it is in a format that is not usable for the tax authorities. So we have to have, of course, we have to have such exchanges decided by law, but then we have to support by the digitalization, because otherwise we will lose the information. We are not using the information. And in Albania, I have a lot of such examples.
Mm-hmm. Thank you for this explanation. And also we got a comment from Richard from Kosovo, and he says that in Kosovo is almost similar to Albania. Currently, we are implementing a new IT system which completely will digitalize all internal and external services, as well as interoperability with third parties. So I'm sure that we will tackle this more into details on the next webinar, because Richard will present this to us on the next webinar. Thank you for your comment. Do we have any other questions, comments? No? Okay, then maybe we will come back to the questions later on, but let's go now to the assignment, because together with Stefan, we will kind of introduce you assignment and explain to you what we are requesting from you. And please, David, can you give me presenter rights? I will just show the... Yeah, just the instructions, okay? So, can you see the slide? Okay, I'm sorry. Stefan, please, will you just, I'm sorry. What is now?
Next.
I will stop sharing because I cannot see it, and I will do it again. Sorry. It's here. Stefan, would you just in short introduce the assignment, because you are the author, what you had in mind when you created this, that probably you would be the best, you will in the best way explain to the people.
I can try and do my best. Thank you, Maya. Yeah. No, but I think when we are talking about voluntary compliance and increasing or increasing taxpayer voluntary compliance, I think I was also talking a bit about that in my presentation, saying that we have all the old-fashioned way of giving service, phone calls, face-to-face meetings and everything. But most countries are now moving out to deliver service on IT systems, and we can hear from Albania that they have really been succeeding in doing that, and I know that the Netherlands and Kosovo is also fast forward on that, and in Denmark, of course, we are too. So I think it could be very exciting to see or to learn how countries have been using IT systems and digitalization to improve compliance and reduce compliance cost. And when I say improve compliance, I mean also audit and these kind of things, so that maybe shifting from audit to more service oriented. Sorry, it was Siri. And we should look on all the different, or most of the different tax procedures when we are looking on IT and digitalization. Have you used it for service delivery, giving information and receiving data? Have you used it for register and effective registration of taxpayers and cleaning taxpayer register? Have you used it for declaration? Most of you have, I can hear. And have you used it for payment? And when I say case treatment or case management, is it possible for the taxpayer to ask a question to the system and the system will answer that online without any paper involved? And in connection to that, is there a channel strategy, and have we tried to analyze the cost for the different channels, so that in connection with the most effective channel on giving the information, is that also the most effective of reducing the cost for the taxpayer and for the tax administration? All tax administration are under pressure to reduce cost and get less and less money from the government. And I think we should, by ourselves, look at the possibility to reduce the cost. So that is the question that we want to ask you. I hope it's understandable.
Do you hear me?
Yeah, now?
Yes, we do.
Okay, so I hope everything is clear. If not, please let us know. So you are just asked to do a short document, Word or anything. Word will be probably the most convenient. You can also do it as a PowerPoint, but don't complicate. Let's say 500 to 700 words. But of course, it could be a bit more or a bit less, depends on situation. And send it to us by dragging it into our online platform until Saturday. And then our faculty, so Vasilika, Stefan, Rifat, and Case, Lynn, of course, also will choose among your assignments those that are more representatives or that give some additional value. And the authors, we will contact you, that selected ones, and I don't know, maybe there were only 3 or 4, and 4 of you will then present these assignments on the next meeting, and this will be our basis for the discussion. So I hope this is fine with you. Yeah. It seems that everybody agrees, and then let's Vasilika in the meantime needed to leave because she had it for another meeting, and we can still have some questions, have some comments. We still have 8 minutes. No?
Can I give a comment to the bank information? I think that it could be difficult in the beginning to convince banks that they should give information on a regular basis. But when we did that in Denmark some years ago, we had a discussion with banks so that they would have an opportunity. We would build into our system so that the taxpayer could allow the bank to receive his yearly declaration when he wanted a loan and send it to the bank. So he would enter our system saying, I would like to give my bank permission only for this time to go in and see my yearly bank statement, because the bank would use that to allow a loan. So this was what we used. Instead of the tax administration or the taxpayer should copy his tax declaration and send it on paper to the bank, he can go into our system, allow the bank to get the data, and the bank can get the data, but only for that once time where he allowed it. I'm buying a new apartment right now, and I've just went into my tax account and allowing my bank to look at my statement 3 years back. So that is a spin-off for the bank, and that gave them a possibility to see the benefit of cooperation with the tax administration.
Thank you, Stefan, for this explanation. Do we have any other questions?
Share it in chat.
Yeah, I cannot see it.
From Susanna. It's considered a bank.
The bank secret.
They give necessary data even by law.
Stefan, can you answer?
Yeah, but that depends. Of course, there could be differences between the countries of what is a bank secret. But if it is in the law, and the government have discussed this with bank unions or whatever they have, and it is in the law, the bank cannot refuse to give the data. And of course, there could be data that they shouldn't exchange. But the most normal data about interest, what is in the bank account, and this kind of stuff, should not be considered as a bank secret if it is in the law. So most modern countries won't be able to do so.
Okay. Thank you. Susanna is thanking you as well. David, can you give me presenter eyes just to show the last slide? And of course, in the meantime, you can ask questions. If not, so as we said, what's next? Our assignment 3S, can you see this? This is misspelling, I'm sorry. So please submit it until Saturday, April 25th, if possible until noon, because this will give our lectures some enough sufficient time to do the selection into the platform. You can also send it to me if this doesn't work, and I will then publish it on our online campus. If you want and if you have time, they will all be visible on our platform, and you can go into it and comment. That there are 2 questions that will help you to do peer review. Of course, this is optional. If you want, you can do the peer review. And then we will meet again next Tuesday on April 28th at 10 a.m. With this short presentation of these assignments. As I said, we will inform you who will present, just a few bullet points and main messages. And then we will give the floor to Dutch people and to Kosovo people. We will talk about service strategy from the Dutch Tax and Custom Administration. And we will also talk about service-oriented tax administration, like in Kosovo, what they do, how they are approaching to taxpayers and so on. So we will have Eline and Kies from Netherlands with us, and we will also have Rifat and from Kosovo with us. And of course, all will be with us. And I hope you will have enough time to do these assignments. If you have any kind of questions, let us know. You have my email address. You can contact us anytime. And if you have any questions, let's spend some last moments. It seems everything is okay, and it seems everything is clear. I would like to thank you then for your time and for your contributions during the webinar. Especially thank you to Vasilika and Stefan. And I'm looking forward to seeing you next Monday. And in between, let's stay active and healthy. Take care, and thank you very much again. See you next week. Bye-bye.